Hey guys, this is Chris with Rekkid Talk. So this is going to be the second video of a record for each year of my life series. If you didn't see the first one, I'll put a link, and the end screen will have a link to the first video, which covered the 1970s with the bonus year of 1969. So I left off my 1979 pick was Join Hands by Susie and the Banshees, a very 80s band to me on a very 80s format cassette. This episode, you're going to see three different formats. You're going to see some LPs, some CDs, some cassettes. Some of these albums I have in multiple formats, so I'll kind of show that along the way. The 80s is basically the decade where I was an adolescent, so this is going to feature my music. A lot of the 70s, especially the early 70s, was almost more reflective of my parents' taste in a lot of situations than my own taste. So let's get into it. So 1980, we're going to represent with Pat Benatar, Crimes of Passion. I used this album in my favorite female artist response to Glenn Kellaway's thread. This was actually not the album that I owned at this time period. I had the one after it, but this is the one that I currently have, 1980. Going to represent 1981 with another LP, The Police, Ghost in the Machine. So pretty much anything from the late 70s, early 80s, I could be representing with The Police. So we'll do 1981. 1982, so I only have this on CD. I had this on cassette tape back in the day, but there was the late 80s metal purge that I made. And so Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast. So I thought Iron Maiden was really, really cool when I was 14 or 15. And they've held up a lot better than I think most of the 80s metal bands. 1983, let's show you some Violent Femmes. So their classic debut. And as you might notice, I've played this one quite a bit. The song titles are wearing off on that cassette. At some point, I got the CD as well. I don't have that one on vinyl, but that'll be 1983, The Violent Femmes. 1984, U2, Unforgettable Fire. I originally had this on a cassette that I dubbed from the library's vinyl copy. This is not the library's vinyl copy, but this is a vinyl copy of U2, The Unforgettable Fire, which I have. And this will be a bit of a theme for the next few albums. My favorite album by a pretty well-known band that's not always the super obvious choice. So Unforgettable Fire is my favorite U2 album. 1985, we are going to do the triple format here. And I do remember that I'm going to have to pause for a second. I need to pull a record. All right, I'm back. So somebody had a contest or a thread at some point where showing something you had in three formats was a prompt. And so I had In Excess, Listen Like Thieves in three different formats. And so there it is, cassette, CD, and album. And just like Unforgettable Fire is my favorite U2 album, I'm going to say that Listen Like Thieves is my favorite In Excess album, rather than picking the Joshua Tree or rather than picking Kick. 1986, my favorite REM album, although I only have the used copy of this that I bought many years ago, is Life's Rich Pageant. Begin the Begin, Cuyahoga, Fall on Me, Swan Swan Hummingbird. There's just so many good songs on this. And again, I don't think most people choose Life's Rich Pageant as their favorite REM album. They'll either go earlier or they'll go a little bit later into their most commercially successful period or their earliest. Next one I'm going to show, this is not my favorite Cure album. but I am going to choose to show Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, which I do have on 2 formats. And again, this is something I did have on cassette at some point, although this cassette is gone. And so, of course, there are 17 songs here. There are 18 songs here. The song Hey You was on the cassette. It's on the album. It's not on the CD. I guess to get it on one CD, they had to lose one song, so that's the song they chose to lose. But Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me from 1987. 1988, I'm going to represent with Jane's Addiction, Nothing Shocking. I actually probably prefer Richard Low Delo Habitual a little bit better. Contains language which may be unsuitable for some viewers. And then finally, just like my previous video, I ended the 1970s with a band that I think of more of as an 80s band on a very 80s format. So that was Susie and the Banshees on tape cassette. Here, I'm going to show you some Soundgarden on CD. So really, of course, they're one of your legendary Seattle grunge bands. I know Randy Weaver picked this one and showed it in his video as well. But there you go. And again, this is another one that I got used a long time ago. And this is the only format I have this particular record in. So Soundgarden, Louder Than Love, 1989. This is going to segue us into the 1990s. Next Monday, I'll have my video up of the 1990s, which is generally my favorite decade for music. Now, I could have picked Disintegration by The Cure for 1989, because that's actually my favorite Cure album. I could have shoot in some replacements, maybe Pleased to Meet Me for 87, but I didn't, although I slipped them in and mentioned them anyway, even though you're only supposed to mention one record a year. Did a little bit of cheating.